This is like some shit you'd expect like a 6-year-old to do. Oh, this is actually true when it comes to debating people as well. I can usually tell if somebody is going to be good faith or bad faith based on like hypotheticals or examples I give them and see how combative they get with points that they shouldn't be combative for.
Years.
You ever cut yourself where you had to go to the hospital and get stitches?
This is such a horrible lie. Why would...
From the moment the subject entered the room, his eyes have been fixed upon nothing but the floor. He's held on to this downward-facing gaze as if he's either in a state of shock or disconnected from the moment. At the exact moment the door shuts, he lifts up his head to observe his surroundings. His behavior completely shifts once he believes no one is watching. If we look at his demeanor a moment earlier, we can see the contrast. He went from being detached to alert. His behavior changed as the environment changed, which is a recurring theme throughout this interrogation. It shows us that his mind isn't wandering off during these moments of apparent disconnection. He is in fact fully present and very aware of what's going on around him. As he looks up, his eyes immediately lock onto the camera. He now knows he is still being watched, and his following gestures will resemble that of someone with suicidal tendencies.
This is like some shit you would expect like a 6-year-old to do.
At face value, these externalized suicidal thoughts may seem genuine to some, but when framed with the rest of his behavior throughout this interrogation, they are exposed for what they really are: an act, a calculated attempt to garner sympathy and paint his character in what he believes to be a more positive light.
How you doing, Nick? You all right? Gotta be able to speak so I can hear you. All right, I just need to ask you really your name and date of birth just to confirm I got it right, and I'm gonna see you want a glass of water or something. What's your first name?
This is a situation where the proof against the suspect is already conclusive. He is without question responsible for the crimes under investigation, making the pursuit of a confession non-essential. The police know he did it, but they need to know why he did it, which would already require a complex strategy in order to obtain the correct information. But the suspect's first recorded statements upon his arrest have now made the procedure considerably more difficult.
What's going on today, bro?
The demons, man.
Demons?
Voices.
Yeah, no problem.
Voices.
Voices and demons?
Where's the voices? What happened?
Shut up. Just be quiet, man. Shut
up. Demons, man. Voices.
These two words have now forged the primary stratagem of his own interrogation.
The issue, I understand if you're gonna go and shoot up a place, you're probably not like the sharpest crayon in the box. So I understand that we're not working with the best of the best. But if you wanted to feign insanity, like there are so many more optimal strategies to go for than to come on with something. First of all, I wonder where this guy lived, because if you like, go do like a character study. Go to LA, go to New York, go to Seattle, and follow around some homeless people, okay? And in 2 days, you can get more first-person experience with what a crazy person looks like, okay? Then I mean, like literally, this is like a soap opera tier demonstration of like, oh yeah, that's what somebody would say, demons and voices in my head. Like, first of all, if you were truly schizophrenic, you wouldn't all the time think that they were only in your head, right? Because then you would be self-aware. Like, there are like so many better ways to approach like feigning insanity than like, here's what I saw in my local soap opera. Like, Jesus Christ, it's so stupid. It's like actually, so, and there's like YouTube videos you can watch of people like interviewing genuinely like mentally, people that have had psychotic breaks. I'm trying to think of a better word than insane, but like people that are like have psychotic breaks in reality. Like there's so many other ways that you can do like character studies here and then try to emulate those behaviors than to just take on this kind of behavior. Like, and then also, you wouldn't be able to do something this drastic unless you've already set this up in your real life. So like, if you're gonna plan this kind of a killing, you would need to like you'd have to start booking appointments with like psychologists or therapists like a year in advance to this, so that you have some like paper trail of like, look, I was going insane. Nobody just flips a switch and becomes like massively psychotic in one day, right? It doesn't happen that way. I feel like I don't know, but Jesus.
which is to cut through deception under the guise of supportive examination. The questions will be designed to lock him into a specific narrative about his alleged psychosis, while simultaneously giving him the impression that his responses are for his own benefit. Anything he says now can be used to refute any amendments he might come up with at a later stage.
So far, it's not totally unreasonable. If somebody was that far gone that they were like, oh, the voices, oh, demons or whatever, somebody else in your life would have noticed that. No fucking way are you that far gone. And then first of all, that's already pretty exceptional at 19, because I think it's usually like early to mid 20s that these types of like psychiatric illnesses like really set in. Like by the time, like if you're 19 and you're already that far gone, other people in your life are noticing. People at school are going to notice. Your family's going to notice. Any friends you have, anybody, people will notice. You can't get away with being that insane and nobody else like notices. It's impossible. Like, yeah. So this is like, it's just unless you were to start like a paper trail of this and you were to start feigning this type of mental illness like a year earlier, like it's just such a stupid way to try to get out of this. It's so dumb. Sorry.
We all know that after this interrogation, he will have significantly more time to think, study, and even seek guidance from professionals about how the legal system interconnects with mental illness. Yet the majority of this forthcoming knowledge could be useless to him depending on what he says during these moments.
How do I get out of here?
The more details he gives away, the less options he will have for his defense later on. But pursuing this objective is complicated, as there are two very common scenarios for when this type of suspect gets interrogated. And just to be entirely clear, by this type of suspect, we mean someone who is 1. Pretending to be insane, and 2. Not fooling anyone. Their most common response is to simply shut down. They regress into total silence or some type of catatonic state, and the interrogation never gets off the ground. The other common response is the exact opposite. They erupt into hysteria or supposed delirium, and everything from that point forward becomes incoherent. The lead detective, John Curcio, must not allow either of these scenarios to transpire, and this makes the first 2 minutes absolutely crucial. He needs to create a positive first impression and resemble the furthest thing from a threat, while at the same time maintain a presence of authority. His temperament will be easygoing and non-confrontational, but also encouraging when extracting a response. His role at this moment is the ally. He needs to be liked, respected, but must not be feared. Not yet anyway. Going off the suspect's initial demeanor, the detective will know that he is far more likely to regress into a state of silence at this opening stage. And if he can prevent that from happening within the first 2 minutes, he is over the first obstacle.
All right. How you doing, Nick? I just need to ask you really your name and date of birth just to confirm I got it right, and I'm going to see you want a glass of water or something. What's your first name? Come on, Nick. Huh?
Nicholas.
Spell it for me.
Okay.
Come on, I'm old. You got to talk so I can hear you. N-I-K. O.
Oh.
Okay. A-S. And what's your middle name? Come on, man. Speak so I can hear you.
Jacob.
Jacob. J-A-C. What's your date of birth? Okay, you need to relax, because I'm the last detective or policeman you're going to have to talk to. So right off the bat, that should be somewhat comforting to you to know that I'm the last guy you got to talk to. But the thing about it is, look at me. I got to be able to hear you. Okay? So all I want to do is get basic information from you, and then we'll get into the, whether you want a glass of water, all that stuff. What's your date of birth?
09.
January?
09.
09 September.
The investigation team already know the answers to these basic questions. Their only purpose are to initiate a response, and their non-threatening nature make it more likely for the suspect to engage. They are essentially the opening wedge to get the two-way dialogue flowing. And although the suspect is still partially committed to his catatonic state, as we can clearly see, he is still responsive, making it unlikely for him to regress into complete silence from this point forward.
If you ever feel like somebody is really nervous, sometimes a lot of the I think I even had someone on stream that talked about this, but if you know how to communicate with people for, I guess, like interrogations, like a lot of these basic, like, quote unquote tricks are going to carry over into real life conversations as well. So maybe dates or meeting friends or whatever. If you ever want to see, I've done this on stream a lot before, actually. If you If you ever watch me talk to somebody and they seem really nervous, like they're clearly nervous, sometimes you'll hear me ask a question like, well, what do you go to school for or whatever? Because these are really easy things that they can answer. They don't have to think about it much. They're not going to get the answer wrong. And then when they start to give answers to questions like that, it becomes like way easier for them to open up and be like more like, or less nervous, I guess, and more comfortable. This is true of almost any situation. So I imagine it would apply to interrogations as well, just to get like a dialogue opening up.
Everything up to this moment has gone to plan. The detective has one foot in the door, and he can now develop the relationship from a more secure position. He goes about this with a standard method of rapport development, the offer of food and water.
All right, let me do this. You want cold water? You don't know if you want cold water?
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to bring in 2 because I want one. It was hot, and if you decide you want to have it, that's fine. You sure you don't want something to eat?
The refusal to accept food and water is a familiar response which you may have already seen on this channel. It's a glaring manifestation of shame. This is not to be confused with guilt nor remorse, both of which require the acceptance of responsibility, which in turn directs our focus outwards on the feelings of others. Shame, on the other hand, shifts our focus on the perceptions of others towards ourselves. The subject is afraid of how it will look if he accepts the offer considering the circumstances. He instead wants to appear as if he's so negatively affected by the events that he's unconcerned with meeting his basic needs.
Oh, this is actually true when it comes to debating people as well. I can usually tell if somebody is going to be good faith or bad faith based on like hypotheticals or examples I give them and see how combative they get with points that they shouldn't be combative for. So for instance, let's say I'm having a debate about incest, okay? And I'm taking the pro-incest, so they're taking the anti-incest point. And I'm like, okay, so hypothetically, it would be okay for a brother to hug a sister, right? If somebody fights me on that point where they're like, well, I don't know about that, then you know that they're not actually like critically engaged with what they're talking about, and they're so scared of agreeing to anything that they feel like they have to fight you on every single point. There's a lot of in arguments where I'll start to pose a hypothetical to somebody, and I'm asking like very, very, very basic questions, and they're fighting me on every point. And it's like, we haven't even gotten to the argument yet, my dude. Like, you are clearly like so dug in that you're afraid to give any ground on anything, even when you're not giving any ground, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. That happened. This happens throughout so many of my conversations. There's so many little like tricks or like mind psychological things that people do when they are a certain way. It was really funny. Remember with Lance? Lance was like, "You were tweeting about me all day," and I'm like, "I don't think I've ever tweeted about you all day." And then he goes and he looks and he's like, "You tweeted 6 times that day. 4 of them were about me." And I was like, "Is that really all day?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'd say so." And then I probed him with another question. I was like, "Let's say that I tweeted 2 times in a day, and both of those tweets were about you. Does that count as tweeting about you all day?" And he was like, "Yes," because he was so scared of like giving any ground there that he had to own like, and you could tell like, okay, I don't think that you are, yeah. He was half joking? No. Of
course, I have so many different keys. All right, I'll be right back.
Once again, his demeanor abruptly switches when the detective leaves the room. With his head buried in his hands, it's anyone's guess as to what is going through his mind at this moment. But what you are about to see next is extremely revealing. Cruz was a left-handed shooter. The surveillance at the school would confirm this, and if you pay close attention to the movements of his hands in the next moments, although very subtle, you can see that he's reimagining holding his weapon. But what's more telling is how his demeanor abruptly stops and then completely switches right before he looks in the direction of the camera. He goes from holding a rifle and beginning to smirk, to then pretending to cry and reverting back to his suicidal mannerisms. This all occurs in under 4 seconds.
Wait, what?
It could be assumed that for a brief moment, he was not only recollecting the attack, but gaining gratification from doing so. He then remembered he was on film, giving reason for the sharp adjustment. His true self was reliving the attack and enjoying his work, while his false self was so dejected to the point.
Okay, this is a okay, we just tuned into Sherlock Holmes, the BBC show, okay? No, I don't buy that for a microsecond. Not even for a microsecond. No, I don't think so.
He was externalizing suicidal thoughts, complete opposites.
Discombobulate. I'm talking about the show, but I don't think the movie with Robert Downey Jr. I think I've seen that whole movie. I don't think that movie was anywhere near as incredulous as the show is. I don't know if Melina's listening. I love Melina very much. We watched a few episodes of that show, and oh my god, wow. I almost want to watch like the opening scene of when Sherlock first meets the other guy that with the cane that becomes the like oh my god, he like sees him in 2 seconds and he's like, oh, I see that you have a cell phone given to you by your brother and you've just returned from Afghanistan after blah blah blah. And it was like, and then yeah, I don't know, the moment where this kid seems to suddenly remember the camera, it looks like he's performing regardless of whether or not he was reliving the shooting bit was true. I mean, I feel like this kid probably, I don't know, that's hard to say at this point, but I just feel like that's a lot of assumptions to make. Doesn't it take some level of psychopathy to be able to murder that many people? Or is that considered something else? One thing that I think people don't really consider is that when you are looking at murder, so looking at somebody killing another person, oftentimes you are evaluating this from your current state of mind. And in your current state of mind, killing someone, if you're like a normal sane person who's watching, is really, really, really hard. That's an unfathomable thing. And being killed is a horrific thing. And I wouldn't encourage you to do this, but if you watch like gore videos, you watch people killing others or other people's being killed, the way that it plays out on screen is not very similar. It's not very much like how you see it like in a movie. Like people's minds they're very clearly like in another area, especially when you're switching into like survival mode and shit. And it's not at all. Some people are very like psychopathic or really mind fucked. So like for instance, people that do like the extended torture shit, those people are, something is wrong with them. But for people that just do like the normal like murdering, like the shooting and stuff or whatever, I think that a lot more people could fit into that box than they would comfortably admit, just depending on how far you're pushed in a video game. If you ever want to get super fucked, there are very few things that I recommend people staying away from. Actually, I recommend you staying away from a lot of things. But if you ever want to see some truly horrific shit, I don't think the audio has ever been released, but reading the tapes of the, are they called the box cut killers? The box cutter killers? Or is it what am I thinking of? The toolbox killers. Woof. Those people. Now that is like what a psychopathic, sociopathic couple of people look like. Whew, holy yikes. I'm pretty sure that there's footage of the jury trying to listen to some of those tapes and people coming out of the rooms like crying. Like they're so mind fucked. And I think there are some FBI people that claim that those are like the worst tapes that they've ever listened to. Don't you think that the normal people can be pushed or convinced to commit those extended torture acts as well? I don't think so. Not like that. I think that would there has to be some level of separation there. Like maybe if they were in another room or something, but not directly. I think that would be really, 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 really hard. I think we have like in most humans, there are some like innate empathetic processes that would prevent you from being able to do stuff like that. And it extends to like little animals and shit too. I think, I'm repeating this because I've heard it so many times, but I don't know if I've ever looked up a study for it. So maybe it's wrong, but I've heard so many times that, one of the highest predictors for like becoming a serial killer or something is like somebody that tortures animals as a child. That if you have people like this, because it's very clear that they lack some basic empathetic drive, which would make them more likely to be able to commit atrocious acts without like feeling any remorse or having remorse stop them from doing it. But I wonder if that's actually true. Torture animals predictor, serial killer. The McDonald triad is a set of 3 factors, the presence of any 2 of which are considered to be predictive of or associated with violent tendencies, particularly with relation to serial offenses. The triad was first proposed by psychiatrist J.M. MacDonald in The Threat to Kill, a 1963 article in the American Journal of Psychiatry. Small-scale studies conducted by psychiatrists Daniel Hellman and Nathan Blackman, and then FBI agents John E. Douglas and Robert K. Rassler, along with Dr. Ann Burgess, claimed substantial evidence for the association of these childhood patterns with later predatory behavior. Although it remains an influential and widely taught hypothesis, subsequent research has generally not validated this line of thinking. So the 3 are cruelty to animals, obsession with fire setting, and persistent bedwetting past a certain age. However, other studies claim to have not found statistically significant links between the triad and violent offenders. It's actually a first-year criminal justice major who hired some professional sounding to read a script. If you listen for it, sometimes you can hear the valley speak. What? Okay.
His next calculated charade is one of self-harm. He first bites himself without drawing blood, or leaving any marks that were visible in his jail intake photographs.
Damn, dude, come on, you gotta at least commit to it.
He then scratches and squeezes at the 2 needle punctures in his arm from where his blood was taken at the hospital. At the very moment the detective re-enters the room, he will act as if he's desperately trying to conceal his self-injurious behavior.
The strange thing is that I feel like if you are nervous enough, you should be able to draw blood, no? I feel like if you really are that nervous, it's not like you're gonna feel the pain as much. So I wonder if he's more calm than he's letting on, and he really is like some crazy sociopathic dude or whatever. I don't know, that's kind of weird.
Right.
Setting aside the glaring contradiction that he just murdered and maimed dozens of people while leaving himself without so much as a scratch, it's the frequency of these little charades that makes their deception so transparent. This is a person who is not self-injurious, pretending to be someone that is, but it's such a feeble attempt at feigned self-harm, it would almost be a comical moment if the circumstances weren't as horrific.
Well, if they're not bleeding anymore, just want them off. We can pull them off. I'll get you a garbage can. You want them off? Just put them on the throw them on the floor in the corner. All right, this one is mine, because I already opened it. This one's yours in case you change your mind.
The next 4 minutes are the extremely tedious process of getting the subject to engage further through basic questions. The topic of his phone will now be brought up.
Wait, did I say yes? Let's
go. Do you have a phone?
I read Twitter today and I didn't realize you fucked someone in the casino too. Was it a mom? Just curious.
Oh, yeah, holy shit, dude. There's all sorts of crazy stories I read about myself online. Apparently I f***ed coworkers at the casino, got them pregnant, and then I got fired for it. Oh my god.
I lost it.
When did you lose it? Today.
Oh, and I'm a landlord,
Okay.
too.
What kind of phone is it?
I don't know.
Okay, is it
What is your take on Buck?
No take on it. Don't ask me about it. It's so stupid.
a flip top, an iPhone, a Samsung? It's a phone. What's the number?
I can't remember.
Okay.
He will now begin to feign a state of hysteria, which then morphs into a simulated panic attack and fake hyperventilation. The detective will need to refute the act immediately as to not let the subject gain confidence with it, but he also has to maintain rapport and avoid confrontation. He essentially has to tell the subject to knock it off, but in the most passive manner possible.
I can't remember, dude. I can't.
Okay, Nick, calm down. You've already been medically cleared. I know what's going to be talked about is difficult, but again, you don't remember your phone number. How long you had the phone? How long have you had the phone?
I don't know what the f I'm supposed to do.
Nick, the doctor's already looked at you.
Okay.
Okay, you're fine. You're not having any problems at the moment.
Just
You're perfectly
AFK
fine.
until it sinks. Okay.
So calm your breathing down. All right, and I want to believe certain things that you're going to tell me, but you know, if we're getting to where you're going to hyperventilate over a phone number, okay. All right.
All right.
So what's your phone number? Huh?
954.
Okay, 954.
The manic episode is somewhat curbed, but the subject is still clearly committed to it.
954-821.
2007.
2007.
1007.
1007. And again, going back to what kind it is, do you know if it's an iPhone, a Samsung?
I don't know.
How long have you had it? Every kid knows what the phone is, man. I got kids your age.
Ever since my mother died.
I know, I heard about that. That's what I was going to talk about next.
This is a turning point. Cruz's adoptive mother had indeed passed away the year prior from pneumonia. The topic is sympathetic towards himself, and it seems to have stopped the feigned hysteria in its tracks. Compared to his neurotic behavior in the minutes leading up to this moment, he all of a sudden appears calm. He is clearly receptive, and thus responsive, to the cue of compassion when it's directed at himself. The detective recognizes this, and although he said he would talk about the subject's mother next, he instead focuses on it immediately to keep him engaged.
All right. So, but you had, since your mom died, how long has your mom passed?
I can't remember, I think.
Okay. This year or last year?
November.
November? Okay.
Where do I go?
Okay. When your mom passed, were you living with her?
Yes.
Okay. What city was that?
Parkland.
Parkland?
The subject drops the act and becomes more engaged in the conversation. The detective inquires further about his mother for roughly 3 minutes before shifting the discussion. It focuses mainly on the subject's background, and he first declares that he was depressed for the majority of his childhood. He then reveals his history of drug use, which consists of marijuana and Xanax. After that, he claims to have attempted suicide by alcohol poisoning 2 years ago, but in his own words, was able to sleep it off. He then states that he was employed at the Dollar Tree for the last 2 years working as a cashier.
So you've been able to hold down a job for 2 years. That's pretty good, right?
Yes.
Other than Dollar Tree, where else did you ever work?
Long morning.
What?
Long morning.
Lawn mowing? Oh, okay. All right. When you tried to kill yourself with alcohol, your mom was still alive. What were you depressed about back then?
Loneliness.
Loneliness?
Loneliness.
Friends? No friends? Or what kind of loneliness? I mean, everybody gets lonely.
Solitude.
Solitude? You know.
People's number one weakness, okay? I'm pretty sure interrogators know this, and then you should know this for like dates or to try to form new friends or to impress people or whatever. People's number one weakness is...
I feel like I've outpaced him.
Everybody in the world feels like not enough people care about them, and everybody in the world loves an opportunity to talk about themselves. If you ever ask people questions, or if you ever want to have the impression of being a good conversational partner, all you need to do is find the right questions to ask somebody to enable them to talk about themselves as much as possible. People will always come away with ultra good impressions of that conversation. They'll feel like you're a really good conversational partner, even if you said nothing. Just ask them questions, and then ask them questions about things they tell you. And people will always have really good impressions. And it's really hard for somebody to not want to talk about themselves.
You don't have a lot of friends?
No.
Okay. Today, when I say today, starting from last night when you went to bed to this morning, did you do any kind of drugs at all? Any Xanax, any marijuana, anything like that? No? Okay.
The subject reveals that he has a biological brother whom he was adopted with. He then claims to have been making $1,200 a month at the Dollar Tree. The discussion now lands on what his aspirations were.
When you weren't depressed, what did you want to be when you got out of school?
Ranger.
A ranger, an Army Ranger? Did you ever apply, fill out any paperwork to try to go to the Army?
I took the ads, but I failed.
Okay, why'd you fail?
Because I was stupid.
You what?
I'm stupid.
You're stupid? Okay, were you going to take it again?
I was afraid to take it.
Okay, but you had aspirations to do something with your life. You wanted to be that's a hell of a thing to want to be an Army Ranger.
The discussion moves on to the subject's gun collection, which continues for roughly 4.5 minutes. The attack on the school is yet to be mentioned, but the last gun to now be discussed was his choice of weapon to commit the massacre.
What made you choose out of all the guns to want to buy an AR-15?
Cool looking.
Cool looking? Okay. Now, Now, when you bought it, I mean, it was a legitimate purchase. They gave you a receipt and everything, right? So you bought it legally, right? Did you fill out those forms and everything? Okay, you remember those forms? Okay.
The detective now shifts the topic onto his former high school. The same
I think the form he's talking about, it should be, you hear me sometimes talk these conversations, they're called like 4473s. I think that these are the gun forms that you fill out for the federal background check, which you're supposed to fill out, I think, every time you buy a gun. I think federally. That's the gun show loophole that people talk about, is that if you buy it from an individual, you don't have to fill one of these out, which is kind of weird. But
place he carried out the attack.
Now, 3 years ago when you went to Douglas, and obviously you stopped going there, why'd you stop going there?
My depression worsened.
Your depression worsened, and what was going on? Did you just stop school on your own, or did some incident happen where?
Yes, some incident.
Well, what was the incident that happened?
Fought a kid.
You fought a kid? You remember the kid's name?
Yeah.
Ian. And did you guys both get in trouble for the fight, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what did they do? Suspend you?
They suspended me.
Okay. And what happened from there? After you got suspended, you go back to school?
Yeah.
Okay. What happened then? Why'd you stop going there then?
Felt embarrassed.
You felt embarrassed because you got suspended, or you felt embarrassed because of why?
Because of the fight.
Okay. Well, what was embarrassing about the fight? What were you guys fighting over?
A girl.
Girl? Well, what was embarrassing about it? I mean, did Ian get the better of you? Was that what was embarrassing, or he got the better of you? Okay.
He has just provided the state with a solid argument for a motive. Establishing a reason for an offense is critical when dealing with claims of insanity. It can not only indicate premeditation, but also calculated malice in connection to the crime, something considered absent in the mind of the criminally insane. He also asserts that he was lonely and depressed while attending the school, all of which can reinforce the argument that he was exacting revenge upon the community in which he felt ostracized.
All right, so you go back to school. What ends up happening? You just stop going to school out there, or you got into more problems? Where they
Got into more problems.
What was the more problems?
Failing class.
Okay.
Not going to school.
Okay. And this was all while your mom was still alive?
Yeah.
Okay. Did there come a point in time where you just stopped going there, or they expelled you?
Or I just stopped going and then transferred me.
They transferred you? When they transferred you, was that upsetting to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
As we know, the suspect has made the claim about hearing a voice which he labeled the demon. The detective will now attempt to get a detailed narrative of these perceptual disturbances. He will do so by asking a series of open-ended questions, and then continuous follow-up questions thereafter. This will lock him into specific claims about what he was hearing. The more information he gives away, the less he will be able to amend later on. And the more questions that are posed, the more likely he is to make contradictions that can be used against him. The suspect believes this is some type of clinical evaluation for the sake of his own well-being, and this misconception will become glaringly apparent later on. He, at this moment, is oblivious to the fact he is giving information away that will be used to cut through his own defense in years to come.
You go to the hospital, the doctors clear you, and you're talking about demons. What are the demons?
The voices.
Well, tell me about it. What are the voices about?
It's another voice, the evil side.
Okay. And how long has that voice been going on?
One thing that I think is really strange is my understanding is that for people that are schizophrenic, voices that you hear, I think, are almost always incredibly negative. I wonder why that is the case. I don't know why, but I think I've heard that a lot, that when schizophrenics have voices that they hear inside their head, they're always incredibly negative. But I've also heard, somebody said only in the West. Apparently that's a little bit culturally dependent as well, that if you hear voices inside your head, if you're a Westerner, they're more likely to be negative than in other cultures, which is strange too.
Years.
Did you ever tell anybody about the voice? Never? And what does the voice say to you?
Burn, kill, destroy.
Okay, burn, kill, destroy what?
Anything.
Okay, but have you ever burned, killed, or destroyed anything? What have you burned, killed, or destroyed?
Burned, just fire, set fire.
To what?
In the pit. Fire.
Oh, a fire pit. Okay, well, I mean, the voice told you to burn something, you built a fire in a fire pit. What's destructive about that? That's what fire pits are made for. What else did the voice tell you to do that's...
Kill animals.
Okay, have you ever killed animals?
Yes.
What kind of animals?
Birds.
Birds? Wild birds or people's
Birds.
pets? How do you kill them?
Birds.
How do you kill them?
Wait for them. Kill them.
Oh, can't catch them, so how are you waiting for them?
Out in the grass. Wait for a bird to come up.
There's no way, man. I'm a bird lover. There's no way. You can't catch a bird, Holmes.
No, I mean like...
With a pelican? Oh, okay. Where's your pelican?
It broke.
Okay. All right, so the voices tell you to hurt animals and start fires in the fire pit. When was the last time you heard the voice?
Yesterday.
What time was it yesterday?
It was at night.
Okay. And where were we at?
Work.
You were at work? So you're at Dollar Tree. And what's the voice telling you?
Hurt people.
To hurt people. Hurt people at Dollar Tree? Or hurt people?
Hurt people in general.
Okay. Doesn't say specifically who? All right. Can you tell how old the voice is?
My age.
Okay. Do you have a good voice too, or just a bad voice? Is there a voice inside you that says, do good things?
The detective will now start getting confrontational, and the subject's behavior will shift once more in response. You will see him get defensive as he attempts to protect his narrative, and his responses will become much faster. He will even cut the detective off multiple times. Keep in mind that he was barely saying anything at the start of this interrogation.
No?
So it's bad.
Can't be. You held down a job for 2 years. If you were doing things bad, you wouldn't be able to hold a job down for 2 years, right?
Extreme 98, $4.99. The JCS videos are pretty dope. Hope you watch/react to more in the future.
Nice. One of the best ways to both tell lies and to get caught in lies, and it's way more often the second than the first, is that like different things are going to start to intersect, and usually this is where you get f***ed. So like if you tell a lie, you have to understand that it's going to like branch out and to affect other shit, and then you need to like be ready for that. So like for instance, let's say that you want to lie to your significant other. It's like, oh, I visited Frank last night, and Frank lives like 30 miles away, right? Like the next day, let's say that you are low on gas, like being able to say something like, oh shit, like I'm almost out of gas because I drove so far to Frank's, like something like that. Like those little like things build up like they build up like believability or whatever in a lie. But more often than not, 99% of the time when you start lying, you're going to start contradicting yourself all over the place. We all like to think that like we're all like Death Note and Light, credibility and Light. We like to think that this is going to happen, everything's going to be perfectly plotted out. But what more often than not happens is a whole bunch of random little things will pop up, and you're going to get figured out, and it's going to be you're going to find out that like, oh, well, last night Frank was hanging out with George, and George doesn't remember seeing you at all. Like, right? This is like when you try to tell like very complicated lies, you're going to end up like contradicting yourself, unless you have to like meticulously plan this out in advance in order to do this and not get caught. Yeah, this is why like this is why when you lie, it's good to have like very, very, very simple lies, or somebody that doesn't know you very well. Or like, I don't think it's possible to tell and keep up complicated lies for long periods of time, unless you're dealing with like a dumb fuck. So like apparently it's easy to lie to, like I see posts on Reddit for some women who are like, oh, like I've been dating this guy for 3 years, but for some reason he says I'm never ever allowed to go to his house or meet any of his friends or any of his family.
Why
and it's
do you
like,
have all of these tips and tricks? Is this what it takes to be a landlord?
Yeah, it's all part of being a landlord.
I mean, look,
It's me and then my bad side.
I understand. Everybody's got a quote good and bad side. There's people.
No, it's a voice. The voice is in here, and it's me. Just regular me. Just trying to be a good person.
Okay.
Set aside his contradicting behavior for a moment and focus solely on his storyline. In his ideal scenario, we are to believe that he was battling these supposed voices and, in his own words, trying to be a good person. Yet he was unable to reveal or seek help for this internal struggle until the very moment of his arrest. It was quite literally the second he was confronted with his comeuppance that his supposed demons came to light. Now that he is in custody, with the atrocities already committed, he is somehow able to maintain control over the force that was previously keeping him silent. But a deleted video that would later be extracted from his phone would tell a very different story.
Hello, my name is Nick, and I'm going to be the next school shooter of 2018. My goal is at least 20 people with an AR-15 and a couple tracer rounds. I think I can get it done. Location is Stone Douglas in Parkland, Florida. It's going to be a big event. And when you see me on the news, you'll all know who I am.
There are no signs of perceptual disturbances. There is no anguish, doubt, hesitation, or uncertainty when announcing his intentions. By his own narrative, he claims to have continuously fought against the evil intentions of the voice. Yet from a visual standpoint, there is no conflict in this video whatsoever.
It's me and then my bad side.
I understand. Everybody's got a quote good and bad side. There's people.
No, it's a voice. The voice is in here, and that was me just trying to be a good person.
Okay. But obviously, again, when you say it's a voice, it's you. It's all you.
What do you
The
mean?
voice is you as well.
Yeah.
The voice didn't force you to do anything, right?
No, the voice did. It's two voices.
Uh-huh.
There's one half that's the good and then the bad.
Another thing that's really difficult about telling lies, and this even applies to telling the truth, is that if you are telling a lie and you get caught and you've got to change something up, you've completely and totally lost all credibility and nothing else you say will be believed. This is another reason why you keep, like, just making lies up like this is just impossible. Like, if you get caught in a single lie like this and you have to walk it back, like your credibility is just destroyed. You can lose credibility so quickly. Like,
His rapidly interchanging behavior has now gone from catatonic to manic to hallucinatory to
Hassan said yesterday that the FBI had received reports from neighbors and family members of Nicholas Cruz. Is this true? I don't know. You'd have to look it up. The problem, though, is that the FBI receives reports about everybody, and it's really hard to figure out what's true or what's not true. You have to understand that. The FBI is put in a pretty difficult position because oftentimes they're tasked with trying to investigate people without warrants, right? So they can't wiretap you, right? And then, like, another thing that sucks, too, is that when somebody commits a crime, everything becomes incredibly simple and easy. Like, oh my God, yeah, no shit, this guy shot up his school. Did you see what he was saying in League of Legends? I'm going to kill every Yasuo player. Did you see what this guy was saying on Twitter? I'm going to set fire to every landlord. Like, how did you not know that this guy wasn't a fucking serial killer? Of course, right? Then all of a sudden, everything becomes obvious, right? Which sucks then, because if you're the FBI, now everybody looks at you like you're a dumb fuck. But the reality is that a lot of people say a lot of crazy shit in a lot of different circumstances, and it's really hard to determine, like, what is a credible threat, right? And then again, to reiterate what I said before, the FBI might get a tip, but a tip isn't enough to start to, like, open an investigation where you can start getting, like, warrants and shit to, like, wiretap or something, right? You're not going to get, like, a warrant to start, like, you know, monitoring all the communications and to, like, start digging around and shit, like, for stuff that you need subpoenas for.
now highly attentive and cautious.
Okay, well, the voice tells me to go to lunch and not pay for my meal, but I pay for my meal because I know that's the right thing to do, right? Okay, let's talk about it. Because the voice didn't tell you to take Uber, right?
Yes, it did.
It did?
Yes.
The voice said take Uber.
Yes.
Did
The voice is in me.
You're the voice.
No, in here.
Okay, it's in your head.
Yes.
What is it? A male voice or a female voice?
Male.
Male?
The subject was beginning to panic, but the detective dials it in for the time being and switches the discussion back to more trivial matters. It seems that he wants to consult with the investigators outside before maximizing the pressure, and he...
It's also really, really, really good before you know somebody is before somebody actually identified this. When I have conversations with people, I usually like to let them speak for quite a while before I like start to like, okay, let's like get into the argument part, because usually somebody will lay down enough track that when we start to like get them to focus on some arguments, they're gonna have to try to turn around because they f something up. It's usually good to let people talk and talk and talk, because then when you bring down like the hammer, now they're f because they've said too much, right? Like if oh, and I've said this before actually. So if you're trying to catch somebody, it triggers me so much when people f this up. If you're trying to catch somebody that's told a lie, what you want to do is, like, people will confront people with lies. Don't confront somebody with a lie. Like, if you know that, like, this is where they were at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., and then 9 p.m., and you know that they, like, f***ed off here and they're doing some shit they lied about, ask them what they did, like, at this time, and this time, and this time, and this time. Because all of these other things that they lie about, you know that these are all lies, because you know that they're, like, their night changed right here, right? And when you start getting people that lie about all of this, now, when you start asking them questions, you're like, well, wait a second, did you really do this here? Because I happen to know that you didn't. Now they're like, oh, shit. So they might start changing that, but they don't know that you know that this whole thing is right? This is a really, really, really good information. This is why, like, if you know that somebody's lied about something, oftentimes it's really good to just never confront them with the lie at all, because everything that they say past that lie that you don't know about, that you don't know, well, that they don't know that you know about, is going to be more lies that, like, are very instructive. Like I've said this in the past, what people tell you honestly is like whatever, but if somebody's gonna lie to you about something, that tells you so much about them. Like, the things that people choose to lie about when they talk to you gives you so much information about who they are. The things that people tell you honestly are, you know, whatever. Sure, you share this information because you think it's important or whatever. But when you're gonna lie about something, now, like, figuring out the reasons why you would lie about something gives you so much more information and insight into that person's mind.
He reestablishes a certain level of trust before leaving the room.
Let me go. I'm gonna go back and see what everybody's doing as far as what they need me to do.
You're not a psychologist or anything? Or?
No, I'm not. I'm a 59-year-old man who's raised 3 children, so I guess that makes me somewhat of a psychologist.
Think you can give me a psychologist here?
I can certainly ask.
Okay.
Have you ever seen a psychologist before?
No.
He's thinking like the psychologist is going to be like a nice lady that's going to come in and like talk to him and help him and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Okay.
The subject scratches his arm for another 2 minutes. He then switches to a hallucinatory state and appears to be seeing things in the room.
All right, got some stuff here.
The detective will once more dismiss the act by pretending to not see it. He will then pose a question to the subject, and the charade will cease immediately.
Here's the water. Will you put it back over here? You definitely don't want the water, huh?
It's very interesting to observe his facial expressions at the exact moments he abandons fake behavior. These are the very brief junctures in which his true self appears to surface. It's easy to get distracted by the present situation as he sits there in a hospital gown chained to the floor, essentially helpless to the cunning devices being used against him. But in moments like this, we are reminded of what we're actually dealing with. A very short time ago, he was not helpless at all. He was the one preying on the helpless, offering them none of the sympathy nor mercy of which he is now trying to garner for himself.
All right, the school or the psychologist you want to talk to. Obviously,
it's not, and I maybe it's, I don't know. It's not even like clever tactics being employed. This guy's just a really, really, really bad liar. What a dipshit.
You have to tell him what you want to talk
Wait, why are you still awake?
to him about. So what exactly do you want me to ask him, or why do you want to talk to a psychologist?
Find out what's wrong with me.
Well, what do you think's wrong with you?
I don't know.
The detective in this next segment will attain further information about the supposed voices, only he will no longer have to tread carefully in order to maintain a friendly connection. He will still secure useful information, but also get confrontational as and when he pleases. The risk of frightening the suspect to the point where it stops the interrogation is no longer a concern.
When you hear the voices, are the voices like outside your head or inside your head when you hear them?
Inside.
Okay, so it's not like you don't hear a voice from that corner talking to you. It's inside your head. And is it always the same voice, or is it only one voice?
One voice, same.
And you said it's...
$5. Has anyone in chat ever thought about the precautions they would take before and after committing the perfect crime? In a video game.
Yeah, like, I feel like you should just do some basic research on what does it mean to be schizophrenic, or what is it like to hear voices or whatever, like, and read a few case studies, and like maybe pick a person and model yourself after like their symptoms or something. Like, it would be so much better than this. Like, I've seen a few Hollywood movies, I'm gonna try my best to copy them. Like, ugh.
It's a man's voice? That's, yeah?
Yes.
Does it sound like anybody you've ever met? Anybody you ever seen on TV? Can you tell, like, by an accent? Is it what kind of? Is it an old man, young man, white man,
Young
black?
man.
Young man, about the same age as you think? But it's only one voice you ever hear, right?
Yes.
Do you hear the voice when you're in bed at night sleeping?
Yes.
Do you ever see anything with the voice? Like like, you know, some people say, "Oh, I see a person sitting in the corner." You don't see anybody sitting over there, do you? It's just me and you, right? All right. Do you always obey what the voice tells you to do?
I try not to.
Okay. Well, how many on any given week? How many times do you think you hear the voice? All the time?
Once every day.
Once every day? Morning, afternoon, night? Always the same time?
Usually in the afternoon.
About what time?
11 to 12.
Why do you think it's those hours?
I don't know.
It's always around lunchtime? Now, you talked about demons,
Yeah.
and then you talk about
Yeah,
the
that's the
voice.
demon. The voice is the demon.
The voice is the demon. So there's not
the
two...
person, whoever it is,
Does it have a name?
no name.
Does it ever say, hey, my name's Nick? Does it use your name or use somebody else's name? Just a voice with no name.
Just a voice with no name telling me what to do.
Did the voice tell you to buy that AR-15?
Yes.
Did it tell you, hey, buy that gun, it looks cool? Did the AR-15 get picked out because it was similar to the gun that an Army Ranger would carry?
No, it was because of the voice.
What do you think if you didn't buy it? If you said, hey, I ain't buying these guns, too expensive, what do you think the voice would have done to you? Did you stop talking to you?
No, tell me to hurt myself.
How would you hurt yourself?
Cut.
You're a cutter?
I'm a cutter.
All right. When was the last time you cut yourself?
Earlier,
Earlier when?
when I was fishing.
Earlier today or earlier?
Earlier today.
If you're a cutter, you're gonna have scars too, right? Like,
Where were you fishing at today?
At a lake.
Okay, before the before the school shooting?
Yes.
What did you cut yourself with?
Knife.
Those little scratches on your arms? Let me look at them. Come on, man. I get worse scratches weeding my flower bed than that. You weren't trying to hurt yourself.
Yes, I was. It wasn't sharp enough.
Wasn't sharp enough?
No.
How many knives do you own?
4, 5
How long you been cutting yourself?
years.
You ever cut
this
yourself
is
where you had to
such-
go to the hospital and get stitches?
this is such a horrible lie. Why would you ever lie about something that's gonna leave obvious scars and marks on you? How, like, you would, God, this guy is so stupid. Like, you must know somebody that's why would you try to lie like this on the spot? Why want to do preparation a little bit if you're gonna lie about something like this? This is so dumb.
When you cut yourself, it's because the voice just told you to cut yourself. And if you didn't talk or you didn't listen to the voice, then you were going to be alone because your voice was your only friend. That's kind Kind of what you're saying. Even though you have a biological brother. Since me and you have been talking, have you heard the voices? What's it said?
Saying cut yourself.
For you to cut yourself. Does the voice like me?
Huh?
Does the voice like me?
He doesn't trust you.
Why doesn't he trust me? I'm pretty relaxed, ain't I?
I'm trying to figure that out too.
Well, what doesn't he like about me? I mean, I'm kind of grinning because I want to know what the voice's problem is with me. What doesn't he like about me? I treated you fairly. I've given you water. I talked nice to you. You know.
You're too nice.
I'm too nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times has the voice talked to you while we've been in the room here together?
A lot.
Has the voice said jump out of the chair and do anything bad to that policeman?
Saying kill yourself now.
I don't really believe there is a voice, to be honest with
There's a
you.
voice.
No, I don't think there is.
I'm telling you the truth. There is.
No. I mean, I feel you probably want to kill yourself because of what happened, but...
No, the voice is telling me to kill myself.
Okay, but the voice is telling you that the AR-15s is...
This guy says he has 3 kids. This is... I'm sorry, I love him to death, but this is like every time Nathan tries to tell a lie. It's like so cringe and so bad. But I mean, he's like 10 years old, right? And then earlier when he's lying, he's like 9, 6, 5 years old or whatever, right? But it sounds like a kid who got like caught lying. It's like so stupid and so bad, and they're so horrible doing it. Like,
You like guns, man. You want to be a ranger. You like guns. It's all right. There's cops like that. There's cops who got 50 million guns. You didn't buy guns because the voice said, hey, today I like Mossbergs, tomorrow I like AR-15s. You like guns.
Can you call the psychologist?
I get it. I've already got the questions from some of the psychologists. Some of the questions I asked you were from...
it?
Yeah.
I see.
That's the ones I asked you. You already...
No.
The questions were obviously from the investigation team and not a psychologist, but the suspect doesn't know this, and it's fascinating to observe his reaction when he sees the questions are not sympathetic in nature. He perhaps thought a psychotherapist would be asking him about his feelings and affording him some type of reassurance after he committed mass murder, and he becomes very unsettled once he realizes the procedure
well, okay, hold on.
won't be quite as sympathetic.
Voices, or the inside or outside of your head. What do the voices say? These are all questions I asked you. How many voices? You said 1. Whose voice do you think it was? You didn't know.
What's wrong with me?
I don't know. I don't understand why you can't admit you like guns. You want to talk to a psychologist. Why didn't you talk to a psychologist when the voices started?
The voice is telling me not to, and I listen.
The voice was telling you not to talk to a psychologist?
Yeah, but myself, I wanted to.
You ever go to church?
I wanted to.
No, I'm saying ever in your life.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
I don't believe in God.
What do you believe in?
I feel like there's something.
Okay. But if you believe in demons, do you believe in angels? Angels is the good. Demons are the bad. When you say the word demon, you think it's an evil spirit? Or what do you think it is?
A voice.
The subject had earphones in during the mass shooting. The topic now lands on the music he was listening to.
$5. Destiny, do you think an autistic person who was wrongfully accused would be more likely to be convicted off of an interrogation like this?
I mean, I don't know if you can get convicted purely off an interrogation unless you like admit to a ton of shit, and there probably should be some corroborating evidence. Although in the past there have been some people I think that have been convicted purely off of interrogations, which is pretty shitty. But I mean, that shouldn't happen.
Well, I mean, I'm sure we don't like the same music. What kind of music we listen to? Name the group.
What was it? Mark Green.
You have to help me. Mark what?
Mark something.
What was the song though?
Sad.
That's the name of the song? Sad?
No, Salad Days.
Salad Days? Hold on 1 second.
What else?
Oh, you listen to more than one song? What other song you listen to?
Just a lot of sad songs.
All right. Did you pick the music yourself, or did the demon pick the music?
Demon, and then myself partially.
All right. Which ones did you pick?
The sad ones.
Which ones did he pick?
The evil ones.
The evil ones. Well, give me an evil one compared to a sad one. You already gave me a sad one. What's an evil one?
Panzermensch.
What?
Panzermensch.
Panzermensch.
It's evil because it's German.
And what does that say?
I don't know.
I mean, there's no lyrics to it?
Oh, no. Oh, well, there's lyrics, but I don't know what it means.
But is it in English?
No.
What language is it in?
German.
German? Do you speak German?
No.
Then how do you know what the lyrics mean?
I don't.
So they could be happy, right?
In most U.S. jurisdictions, you can't be convicted solely on a confession. Yeah, I'm sure you can't be, but I bet if they had shoddy corroborating evidence and they got the right kind of confession, I'm sure it's happened in the past. I know a lot of people bring up there's that To Make a Murderer documentary, but I'm sure that I haven't seen that, but I'm sure that there are a lot of like cases where people have gotten shoddy confessions and then tried to do a conviction based on corroborating dumb shit. Right?
I don't know if they're happy or not.
Well, again, you don't because you can't speak it.
The demon chose it. I didn't choose.
But you have them on. How long do you think you had them on your playlist?
A long time.
Okay, so you've listened to them a lot of times. So you had a playlist of music that the demon helped you pick out, but you picked out some of them.
This guy gives me a teleport?
I'm just having a tough time understanding this demon thing.
I know. Nobody understands.
Well,
What do I...
the Xanax you were talking to me about earlier,
Yeah.
where'd you get the Xanax? On the street or?
On the streets.
So you used to buy that? Other than Xanax and marijuana, what other
I feel like I've
drugs
outpaced
you never tried? Flakka? PCP? Cocaine? Heroin?
No.
Okay, Xanax, how many of those did you take when you used to take them?
5.
Okay, 5. What size bar? How big? I mean, what color was it?
Half, sometimes full.
Okay, what color? They all
White.
White. All right, but that was off the street. Did they help you sleep?
It made me drowsy.
Okay. Did it make the demon go away?
Yeah.
When was the last time you think you did Xanax?
A long time.
So if the Xanax helps you get the demons away,
I think marijuana does it better.
marijuana does better. When was the last time you smoked marijuana?
Last week.
Last week? But you're making $1,200 a week. Why didn't you smoke marijuana every day to get rid of the demon?
Illegal.
It's illegal?
Yeah.
It's illegal. It was illegal whether you do it once a week or once every 5 minutes. So why didn't you choose to get rid of the demon by doing it? Anytime you heard
Callahan, $5. What a liar, dude. What a weaselly little liar, dude. Literally lying.
the demon, just light up a blunt. I mean, you had the money, man.
Because I knew it was illegal and I didn't want to do wrong, but he wanted to do wrong.
Okay. So the demon wanted you to do wrong, but then your good side didn't want to do wrong by smoking marijuana?
Even though it made him go away.
Even though it made him go away. Huh. Well, I don't know why you didn't tell the doctor then you had anxiety problems and marijuana and Xanax cured your anxiety and made the demons go away. It seemed like an easy fix, man. If that's true. You sure you didn't like the demon's voice?
I don't like the demon voice.
You sure?
I'm sure.
Then why didn't you go to a doctor and get rid of it?
I was afraid. I'm just afraid.
Why, well, forget that for a second. Let me ask you another crazy question.
This is the guy who wanted to talk to you last night.
Stop.
Was the demon there that night? Ian beat you up on campus?
Huh?
Was the demon there that day when Ian beat you up on campus?
Yes. He told me to go up to him.
Okay, so who did Ian beat up? You or the demon?
Me.
Okay, so why didn't the demon do something to stop it? Huh?
Why didn't it?
I don't know. That's a good question, because the demons tell you to do all these bad things. Why couldn't the demon get you mad enough to get the best of Ian? I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know either. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Why?
When am I supposed to find time to watch any of your YouTube video if you're streaming all day, every day? There's an icon on my stream for when you're supposed to watch my YouTube videos, actually. If you go to, it might only be on Twitch, but if you go to twitch.tv/destiny, this little highlighted thing here, when it says League of Legends, that means go to YouTube.
What is
I don't know. The demon's this
I don't know why.
all-powerful thing that tells you to do bad things, and you're afraid of it. Why didn't the demon just take over right then when Ian was getting the best of you and get the best of Ian? Well, why did the demon not do that?
Were you a good liar when you were little? Probably not. Everybody thinks they're really good at lying when they're little, but you're probably not. I think you need to you need like a lot of experience, like talking to people, dealing with people, and I don't know if anybody can be a good liar when they're like a teenager, because teenagers are they don't have enough humility to lie well. That would be my guess.
Why do you think?
Trying to figure it out.
I don't know. I can't figure it out either.
If you like this episode, you gotta watch the Stavon one next time.
Okay, gotcha, buddy.
Because I don't think the demon exists.
Can I think?
I don't think it exists.
No, like. Can I think?
I think that go ahead, bud.
Am I able to like think to myself about it?
Yeah, sure.
That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, you can think all you want. I'm just
thinking about the demon.
all right. Well, you want me? I'll leave you to think for a while, and I'll come back and talk to you. I personally, I think you're using the demon as an excuse.
I'm not. I promise.
You could have stopped the demon by getting a prescription for marijuana. You could have stopped the demon by getting a prescription for Xanax. You could have stopped the demon by illegally doing marijuana, which you were doing anyway. You could have stopped the demon by doing Xanax illegally, which you were doing anyway. You could have stopped the demon anytime you wanted. You didn't want to stop the demon.
The subject seems to be coming to the realization that he's not going to be treated as a victim. As he begins to meet this reality, you will notice him exhibit signs of fear. You will then see him attempt to escape the confrontation by feigning a state of psychosis once more.
Why do you think children lie so much?
Because they've done something and they don't want to deal with the consequences of it? Or which one is the flying horse in? What the fuck am I looking for?
The detective will recognize this, but this time will not afford reassurance. He will instead apply further condemnation, and a visibly frightening realization will engulf the suspect from that point forward. It's essentially the very beginning of retribution. The detective introduces him to the rest of his life at this moment.
No, that's not true.
You didn't. You could have. I've given you 4 ways you could have stopped the demon, man. Okay, now you're just acting like that because...
No.
Okay, well, relax. You're just acting like that because I'm making sense. Calm down. I'm making sense, and you don't like when it makes sense.
No.
Because it doesn't fit into the story you're telling right now.
I'm telling you the story. It's true.
Well, why are you looking at your arm now?
I'm trying to understand why.
Well, why didn't you want to stop the demon?
I don't know.
Because I think you like the demon.
No, I don't.
Why didn't you stop it then?
I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon. I don't like the demon.
Well, that's if the demon even exists.
Can I get an attorney or something?
You want what? An attorney?
Yeah.
The demon.
Way too late for that, kiddo. Why the f did you get this far without asking for an attorney? That's the real question.
The voices tell you to get an attorney? Okay. All right, will you tell the voice that don't hit yourself in the head, because the attorney the demon just requested, I will stop talking to you.
I'm scared.
You're scared of what?
Scared of what? Why wouldn't you protect me?
What?
Why wouldn't you protect me, man?
I don't know.
Why wouldn't you protect me?
All right, well, again, your demon wants an attorney. Does the demon know an attorney? Any name in particular?
Jesus Christ.
All right, well, just relax. You're done talking to me. Once again, I grabbed the wrong key. All right, do me a favor. Stay seated. Put your hands, kind of sit forward in your chair. I'm going to put handcuffs behind you. Since you keep talking about hurting yourself. Hold on. Put your hand behind your back. No, not behind the chair. Behind your back. I don't want to make it that uncomfortable.
Oh, why don't you want me to hurt myself?
Because what did the demon say about me? I'm a nice guy.
Oh, my eyes. Oh. My eyes.
Nicholas Cruz was taken to the Broward County Jail, where he remains in isolation to this day. His trial date is yet to be scheduled.
The 20-year-old has been held without bond since last year. His attorney said he would plead guilty in exchange for a life sentence, but prosecutors rejected that offer and are seeking the death penalty.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed. Do you want me to get you a hot chocolate, Stevie?